This hand is okay. We are going to keep. Okay, so they got lucky, and they're starting with the Caverns in play. Now that could mean that they're playing Eldrazi. I believe that Eldrazi's played that in the past, but they exile the Stomping Grounds, so that could mean a couple of things. Let's just go ahead and play our Giver of Ruins and pass. Okay, basic Plains. And a Devoted Druid. Okay, so we could just be dead. We don't have removal. We drew poorly. So we're going to play the Stoneforge Mystic and pass. Grabbing Sophie, of course. Okay, it looks like, yeah, they have unbound mana here. So we'll just have to see if they have a win condition. We aren't going to make them go through the entire combo here. That's not what we're about. We're just going to make sure that they do have access to it. Okay, Dubious Challenge. Huh. Okay. Okay. Well, I think I'm supposed to actually take one of those, but I don't know how Dubious Challenge works, so I might have punted that. But I don't think it's really going to matter. The Charming Prince would have been able to exile the other Charming Prince to get it back, because Charming Princes are good at rescuing what's the old cliche term? Damsels. That's the one. Charming Princes are good at rescuing damsels in distress. Okay, so it looks like they've gone ahead and passed, and they're going to continue blinking their princes over and over. I really don't see how that's better than winning the game, but it is what it is. So they've given us another turn here, which means we can use the Skyclave Apparition to take either the Devoted Druid or Vizier of Remedies off the board. I'm leaning towards Devoted Druid because that's their source of mana. Getting rid of the Druid, they will no longer have access to infinite mana. Okay, and we'll just pass here. And it looks like they're doing the same. Okay, moving into combat here. I suppose they could attack with their princes. Then I could block with Skyclave and give my creature protection. So it seems like they've decided against that. Now I will be able to put a sword or a maul onto something. So I think I would rather put the maul onto the apparition and attack with that. And then I could put another Stoneforge Mystic into play. We do have protection with Giver of Ruins up. And next turn we'll be able to put the Batterskull into play or put the Sword of Fire and Ice into play and equip it onto the Apparition. I'm leaning towards the Sword of Fire and Ice, which will allow me to draw more cards and kill their creatures. Simian Spirit Guide for mana. And they casting something large here through the breach. Okay. Again, there's nothing we can do about that. And they've brought an Emrakul into play with haste. Okay. They will have to sacrifice it afterwards, and we're going to have to sacrifice 6 permanents. I'm thinking 2 of the Stoneforge Mystics, and then our lands. It's going to be a tricky decision here what to sacrifice. Okay, they're attacking in with everything. So if we sacrifice our lands, that's 4. Then we can sacrifice the tapped Stoneforge Mystic. That's 5. And maybe the other Stoneforge Mystic. And then we would only have 1 creature left. We would take 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 damage. Is there a way for me to keep the Stoneforge Mystic and mana? No, there's not. So it looks like the Emrakul is pretty much going to finish it here. What if I sacrifice the Maul? 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, and then hopefully draw a land. Okay, and then we can block 2 things and give the Stoneforge Mystic protection from a color. Okay, so we're basically hoping to draw land here, and we miss. If we had the land, we would have put the Batterskull into play. As is, the opponent has lethal here. There's nothing we can do, so we'll concede. Okay, so our opponent is doing some funky things with mana. The Phyrexian Revoker can actually stop mana abilities, so we can name Devoted Druid with the Revoker, and they won't be able to get anything from it. We could also bring in Winds of Abandon. I think that that could be useful, either to sweep the board of their dorks, or just as a one-hit for one of their more potent creatures. I believe Winds of Abandon does hit Emrakul. I think Emrakul has protection from instants, if I recall correctly. I'm thinking about getting rid of the Giver of Ruins here. I don't think that that's going to be doing much good in this matchup. Thalia seems fine. Arbiter seems quite good. I think we're going to try it like this. We're going to bring in Phyrexian Revoker and Winds of Abandon and take out the Giver of Ruins. Okay, so would we like to take the play? Yes, we would. This hand seems fine. We'll keep. We have the Phyrexian Revoker for their Devoted Druid. Okay. So we'll just start with the plains and pass. Okay, a tapped Temple Garden. So we're going to play the Stoneforge Mystic here. And we'll go get Batterskull. And we'll pass again. Okay, so they have the Devoted Druid. We'll name the Druid with the Revoker on our turn. And we find Archon, so they could only cast one spell per turn, but they would be able to cast an instant with the Druid. So I'm leaning towards still playing the Revoker here. The mana is a little bit awkward this way. I would like to be able to play the Archon this turn, but I think it's still too risky. If they have something that they could play at instant speed during my turn, that could be pretty awful. And we'll hold up Plains to feint a Path to Exile. Okay, we'll name Devoted Druid, and we'll pass here. No need to attack with Stoneforge Mystic. They could block quite easily. Okay, taps Temple Garden. And a Charming Prince. So they'll probably scry with this. We're already over halfway there with the Winds of Abandon. And we find Aether Vial a little bit late. We will go ahead and put that into play. And then we'll be putting a Batterskull into play very soon. We could also put a Maul onto the Phyrexian Revoker, but I would rather put it onto the Batterskull. Okay, here's a Stomping Grounds, so they have access to red mana now. And they have the Dubious Challenge. Okay. Let's see if I can figure out how to actually do this time. Flickerwisp and an Emrakul. Okay, we have the Winds of Abandon for the Emrakul. Protection from colored spells. Okay, so it's not from instants. We would need the this to go all the way. If we grab the Flickerwisp, we can flicker their Emrakul, but I don't think that really matters. Interesting deck. So we grab the Flickerwisp. And then what do we flicker with it? Do we bother flickering the Emrakul? Don't think it really matters. There could be another play here I'm not seeing where perhaps I flicker something like flickering the Stoneforge Mystic would probably be quite a bit better. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not going to have enough mana to use the Winds of Abandon. I'm going to have to hope for perhaps another Flickerwisp. No, that still wouldn't work. Trying to find a way out of this, but I don't see it. Okay, we find another Stoneforge Mystic. Well, I think this game is over, and the opponent has punked us out with the dubious challenge. Okay. This hand is fine. We'll keep it. We'll start with planes and pass. Ancient Ziggurat, which means we're playing against humans. And this will be a Hierarch. Okay, so we'll play a second Plains and the Leonin Arbiter. That's a card we'll be looking to be taking out of the deck for games 2 and 3. The humans deck does not spend much time searching their library. We will probably be playing the Apparition on whatever card they put into play. Maybe the Aether Vial. What is this, a Meddling Mage? It is. What are they going to name? Probably Skyclave Apparition. So this is the deck that I had been intending on playing today, the Humans deck. Once my rental service cleans the gremlins out of their bots, I hope to play that for the rest of the week, along with Boros Bully as my pauper deck. Okay, opponent's taking a little bit of time here to figure out what is the best card to name. We do have the advantage of seeing what's in hand here, but I do believe the best name would be the Apparition. They chose Stoneforge Mystic instead. Okay, I do believe that was the wrong card to name, especially with having a Leonin Arbiter in play. It does stop me from searching my own library. So I'm leaning towards playing the Apparition and maybe taking out the Aether Vial. I could also Flickerwisp the Aether Vial later to take the tokens off of it. So maybe instead I apparate the Hierarch. Or I could put the Sword of Fire and Ice into play. That also seems quite good. And then we also have the option of using the Ghost Quarter to take out one of their lands. So I could play Ghost Quarter, play Flickerwisp, Wisp the Ghost Quarter, and then take one of their lands away from them. And then use the Apparition on another turn to get the Aether Vial out of there. Okay, we're not going to attack here. We do not want the Leonin Arbiter dead, and we are going to put a stop on our end step here so that we can go ahead and use this Ghost Quarter immediately and get rid of the Cavern of Souls. Okay, our opponent, I believe, has decided on a play. Okay, Thalia's Lieutenant. That will boost the strength of their Meddling Mage. I assume they're going to attack into us, and they do. So that'll be 4 damage. Okay, another land. We now have to decide if we want to take the Thalia's Lieutenant off the board, which will grow into a problem, or take the Aether Vial, which is going to serve as a mana source for them. I'm leaning towards the Aether Vial, just because I made the decision to try and land screw them here. So I think we want to continue with that decision. And I'd like to play the Apparition pre-combat, so we don't get surprised by whatever they bring in off of the Aether Vial, which could grow the Thalia's Lieutenant to a 2/2. I'm still kind of mulling over this decision here. I would like to take the Thalia's Lieutenant. It could become quite the problem very quickly. On the other hand, the Aether Vial is going to be letting them put two spells onto the board at one time. I'm going to take the Aether Vial here. Okay, they do not have a 1-drop, so we're free to attack with the Arbiter. They attack for 4, we will attack for 5. And pass. Oh, that's right, we had a stop on our end step there. We'll take that off. Okay, another Thalia's Lieutenant. So the problem creature is becoming a problem quickly. We knew it would be. We will take 7, go to 9. Okay, we get another Flickerwisp. So we could flicker the Skyclave Apparition and take the Thalia's Lieutenant, as well as play a Giver of Ruins. Okay, so they'll take 7 here. And I think it's worthwhile to lose a life and play the Giver of Ruins. It is an additional blocker here, so I think it'll be worth more. And we'll get rid of the Thalia's Lieutenant. That's a bit of a problem. Okay, we have 6 damage in the air, and Giver of Ruins, if it survives, can give another creature protection from... Well, I guess protection isn't going to work. They have 3 different colors on the board, so we will not count on that. But if we get a land off the top, we can suit up one of our creatures with a sword, and that will be lethal. Okay, we have a Phantasmal Image here, which can copy the Skyclave Apparition and take one of our Flickerwisps off the board. No, they'll be copying our Apparition and taking our Apparition, which means they'll also get another illusion. So we're really hoping for land off the top. They have no flyers, so land off the top is going to be a win. Okay, and they have 2 colors here. So we will not be able to make a creature unblockable. I need to decide if I want to block here this turn. I think I do. We will throw this under the bus. We have 2 flyers. And we find a land. Perfect. Okay, they should scoop to this. Okay, we got lucky. Okay, so against humans, how are we going to board? Well, I would like the Winds of Abandon, for sure. Let's bring that in. The Relic-Warder would be able to hit their Aether Vial. Thalia seems poor. Let's take that out. We could bring in Auriok Champion, but the black and red creatures... Oh, hey, J-Min. How you doing? Anyways, their black and red creatures are flyers, so the Auriok Champion wouldn't have a very good time blocking anything. Mirran Crusader doesn't seem all that great here. And then the Phyrexian Revoker, well, humans don't really have activated abilities. Most of them are enter play abilities. So again, that's not going to do very much. So I think I'll just bring in one Mirran Crusader here, just because I think it's slightly better than Thalia, and we'll submit with this. Okay, this hand is fine. Aether Vial, Stoneforge Mystic. We will keep this. And our opponent has kept 7 as well. Okay, basic island Aether Vial. We're going to be doing something quite similar. M15, M14. I was just checking the sets. Basic Plains, Aether Vial. Okay, Cavern of Souls. So they can they can put down a 2-drop here. And they're putting down Meddling Mage. Let's see what they name this time. Path to Exile, good name. Okay, we get another Archon. So we will be playing the Plains and the Stoneforge Mystic. Yes, we'll use the ability. I'm not sure if I want to get the sword or the maul here. My plan, I think, is to put the Batterskull into play next turn. So the maul would allow it to fly over the opponents. Let's get the maul. And we'll pass. Okay, it looks like they have a 1-drop. Noble Hierarch. Not as bad as it could have been. We're going to sort of bluff having a 1-drop here, just by not using the shortcuts. I don't think we have to worry about our clock at all here. Now, something we could also do is we could Flickerwisp their Aether Vial, which will take the counters off of it. Oh, they get a Thalia's Lieutenant. That's going to pump all their dudes, and they can attack for 4 here. So my hand is all kinds of awkward here, with all these 3 drops and my Aether Vial going up to 2. I have the choice of putting in a Flickerwisp or an Archon, or using the Stoneforge Mystic to get Batterskull into play. So I'm going to hope for a 2-drop here. Okay, we get another Aether Vial instead, but we can put that Aether Vial into play and hold up Stoneforge Mystic, so that's what we're going to do. Now, something else we could consider is using the Batterskull to block the Meddling Mage, and then using the Flickerwisp to reset the Batterskull. And then we could put the Maul of the Skyclaves onto it at instant speed with the Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, so they have all kinds of options here as far as their mana goes. What are they putting into play now? Another Thalia's Lieutenant. So that's going to grow the Meddling Mage beyond the size of a Batterskull. We could still potentially chump if we plan on doing the Flickerwisp play. We could also flicker the Meddling Mage to take the +1/+1 counters off of it, but that would give the Thalia's Lieutenants an extra buff each, so I don't think that's worthwhile. Oh, this is interesting. They're attacking with multiple things. They do have the Aether Vial on 3 and on 1, so they could pump the Lieutenant up to a 4. I am going to try and ambush the Lieutenant. If this turns out into a trade, that's okay. We have the Flickerwisp to reset the germ, but that worked out actually quite well. Okay, is going to be yes, yes to the 2 Aether Vials. And we draw another Ghost Quarter. Okay, so I'm thinking I would like to put the Maul onto the germ and attack for 6 in the air. Now, I could do that just with mana and hold the Stoneforge Mystic back as a blocker, and then I can flicker it with the Flickerwisp. They have no cards in hand, so I don't have to worry about Reflector Mage here. Okay, so that switches our life totals. And I think I'm fine with passing here and just holding up Flickerwisp and Archon. Being able to put a sword on the germ seems quite nice, so I think we're going to go for that. Okay, so they have a land here. And we won the match. And the opponent has a companion, which could mean many things. This hand is okay. We will keep. Starting with a gemstone mine. Hey there, handsome. How's it going? Okay, we draw an equipment. And we have nothing to do with the plains, so we'll pass. You see my hands? Does the hand look good? Okay, carry added. That's interesting. So we have the option of Stoneforge Mystic or Arbiter or Thalia. Personally, I like getting the Mystic out onto the board early, but it ties up our mana. Yeah, that's right, handsome. I had a little bit of trouble with my card rental service. I had intended to be playing humans today, but I wasn't able to switch decks. So we're playing Death and Taxes today, and hopefully we'll be on humans on Wednesday. So I'm actually considering playing a Thalia out here, attempting to slow the opponent down, and we'll look into Stoneforge Mystic next turn. Grove of the Burn Willows. Quite good against the Shadow decks, I would think. Okay, we find Skyclave, which has no targets. So I'm thinking Stoneforge Mystic here. And we'll go get probably the Maul. And we have nothing else to do. The Thalia cannot attack past the Caryatid, so we'll pass. Okay, here's a Lightning Bolt for the Thalia. Nothing we can do about that. It did take a token off the gemstone mine at some point, and this is the second one. Okay, now they have Jeskai Ascendancy. So we have to hope that we get a turn here, but the opponent could quite easily just combo off before we get a chance to do anything. We don't have Path, we have to wait for our turn for the Skyclave Apparition. So we can just safely hit 6 and let the opponent do their thing. They could absolutely combo out here. Yeah, Jeskai Ascendancy. I know they do some searching, but I think it's for targets out of game with Glittering Wish. I don't think that they actually search their libraries. So Leonin Arbiter doesn't seem very good. The Thalia was actually quite good, but they had the answer for it. Okay, Wisps. That gives them quite a bit of extra mana. Yeah, not a deck that I necessarily expected to see, but I definitely did not expect to see the deck we played against match 1 either. What's the 1-drop, only 1 non-creature per turn, and why isn't that in the board? Good question. We're running a 3-drop that has Rule of Law on it, so that might be the reason. No, it's a 2/3 flyer. They're still going. Okay, silence. So I couldn't do anything even if I had anything to do. Okay, that's GG. So what are we going to do against this opponent? We can bring in Phyrexian Revoker, which will stop their creatures for tapping for mana. We could bring in Relic-Warder, which can exile their enchantment. I'm wondering about how good Burrenton Forge-Tender would be. If their win con is blood, then it could potentially prevent the damage. You think Rest in Peace works? I guess it would stop them from getting the Unearth creatures back, so that might be viable. I want to take out the Arbiters. I don't think they're doing much good at all. So we have room for at least one rip. And the Giver of Ruins, I think, is quite poor. So we can bring in 2 rip, and we'll bring in the Forge-Tender, just because I think that can stop the spell they use, the fling, basically. So we're going to try this. Yes, I would like to take the play. This hand looks absolutely fine. We'll keep. Start with the plains, and we're going to be looking at Thalia turn 2, and we'll revoke on a creature when they play one. Okay, here's a Birds of Paradise, so we could revoke that right away. But I would rather not, because we have Path to Exile to take care of the bird. So let's just play a Thalia instead. So they will not be able to play Ascendancy this turn. Okay, here's another Lightning Bolt. And that frees up our Path to Exile. I'm almost there, handsome. I've got the MTGO bot. I'm just trying to figure out how to get it into the chat. So I'm thinking about playing Stoneforge Mystic here and holding up Path. I don't think they're going to be able to combo out this turn. Yeah, I'll have it up and running tomorrow. I'm pretty excited to get that going. We'll be able to give us Oracle text on all of our cards. Okay, looks like the Caryatid, so that's the thing I want to name with the Revoker because I cannot hit it with Path. So I might actually want to Path the birds now so I can use all my mana to play the Revoker and put Batterskull into play. And then they won't have any mana dudes. Although they will have enough mana to still play the Ascendancy. I think it's still better. So we are going to Path the birds here. And then we'll revoke their Caryatid. Okay, so they go for blue here, which means they probably don't have basic mountain. We get Thalia, very nice. But I want to put the Batterskull into play. That's a pretty close call between playing the Thalia and the Batterskull. No doubt I want to play the Revoker. I think I would like to get Batterskull into play so we can start presenting a clock. And we'll put Thalia into play next turn. Yeah, you're probably right. Thalia probably would have been better to stop them from cantripping this turn. I just really want to get a clock on the board so we can finish this game. Okay, so they do have their red source now. And we do not have an answer to the enchantment if they put it into play yet. Okay, Pithing Needle. So we're going to respond to that by using the Stoneforge Mystic. That's a good thing to keep in mind. They have 4 cards in hand, still plenty for them. Let's see what they end up naming with the needle. Ghost Quarter, okay. And we get Flickerwisp. Interesting. So we could play a land and flicker the Stoneforge Mystic, and that would allow us to get the Maul. Definitely want Thalia in play. Now I can still use the Ghost Quarter for mana because Pithing Needle, while it can name lands, does not stop mana abilities, while Phyrexian Revoker, which cannot name lands, can stop mana abilities. Okay, we're going to attack all here. Interesting that they choose to block the Revoker. No, that's fine. So we're going to blink the Stoneforge Mystic here, which will allow us to go get Maul. and then we can increase the clock even more. Either that, or we could go get Sword. I think Sword might actually be better with all the mana that we have available. So let's go get that instead. Okay, this looks like Ascendancy. It is. And it looks like they have to pass. Their Caryatid does nothing. Let's see what we draw. We get another Ghost Quarter. Okay. We can still draw a card with the Sword of Fire and Ice. So if we tap down, we would only have access to 2 mana left. And that's if we use the Mystic to put the sword into play. Okay, we're going to put the sword onto the Flickerwisp. Kind of diversifying our threats here. And it has flying, so we're going to be able to get in for the extra damage and card draw guaranteed. Having the extra lifelink from the Germ would have been valuable though, so that is something to consider. But they would have been able to potentially block that, which means I would not have been able to get my trigger. Okay, we get another Thalia. We already have one in play, so we'll just pass here. And they have to get 27 this turn with Caryatids that don't work. Okay, they got a Breach. Here we go. We do have Thalia in play, so they are taxed. That is going to make it quite difficult. And the Breach says that they can only play one spell currently, so they could Lightning Bolt the Thalia, but then they would be out of cards in graveyard. Or they could hit the Revoker so that their Caryatid starts to work, but the Thalia is still going. Okay, so they hit the Revoker first. Oh my, Banishing Knack. So they're going to be able to put the Thalia back into my hand now. Yeah, it seems like they're starting to storm off. They've got 3 cards in hand and 2 mana producing creatures. Do they just play their second Jeskai Ascendancy? So that's going to give them even more mana. And with the Breach in play, it's looking pretty good for the opponent. They're going to be able to discard 2 cards every time they untap, or every time they cast a spell. So at this point, we're just hoping for them to fizzle. That looks like a 3rd Jeskai Ascendancy. It looks like Underworld Breach works very well in this deck. Once you have multiple Ascendancies in play, you're feeding your graveyard. What do they return with the Teferi? Yeah, I suppose they just have so many cards in the graveyard here they continue to play. And we just have no answer. And there's the Glittering Wish, which will get them bleed. So we're done. A good game, but we weren't able to find our answers to Ascendancy, and they answered our Revoker. Oh, okay. And then also looking at blood, we would not have been able to use our card to prevent that because they made the creature blue. An event. They'll be able to recast the blood from their graveyard using the Breach, and that'll finish me off. GG, opponent. Okay, so we have 2 lands here. Giver of Ruins into Leonin Arbiter we will keep. Giver of Ruins can give the Arbiter protection. Oh, look at this. And we're playing against Soulscar Mage. This is the Obosh Prowess deck. So Leonin Arbiter is not going to be that great here. Okay, so if they have any spell here, they're going to be able to kill the Giver of Ruins. But I think that they're attacking so that they can get, what do you call it? Okay, here's the Lava Dart. So they're not going to be able to cast their light up the stage. That's what I was preventing them from doing with that block. Okay, we find another land. And they have a Blood Moon. Okay, Blood Moon isn't going to do much against our double plains hand here. And next turn we can play Skyclave Apparition to take one of their Soulscar mages off the board. We are going to let that attack come through. Okay, we find Giver of Ruins off the top. So we'll play a mountain. And Skyclave one of their creatures. I don't mind leaving the Arbiter back on chump duty. It's hard. We are basically looking to get to Batterskull here. If we can get the Batterskull into play, we're looking okay. Okay, they got a mountain of their own. They almost have enough mana to cast the Obosh. So they could put it into their hand this turn and attempt to cast the Obosh next turn. We're probably going to end up Flickerwisp on the Skyclave Apparition. Okay, we know they have Lava Dart in the graveyard, so we are not interested in blocking. We want to keep that Apparition alive. Although getting the Lava Dart out of the graveyard and taking one of their lands would have been fine. Okay, another Plains is quite nice, so we can play the Giver of Ruins and the Flickerwisp, and next turn we'll have Batterskull. So we're going to attack for 4. And then we blink the Apparition. This will give them a 1/1. We're not worried about that. It's blue. Play a Giver. Okay, so they are going to use Lava Dart to kill the Flickerwisp here. That's fine. We were expecting that. That takes one of their lands out of the board, or off the table. So they're that much further away from casting the Obosh. Whereas we are looking to cast Batterskull on our turn. So I would say we might have turned the corner here. Okay, we know one of their cards is Obosh. I will not be blocking if they attack. I will block the Illusion, but not the Swiftspear. Okay. And we get another Apparition. I do want to play the Batterskull here. I might attack with both and then use the Giver of Ruins, but I think that it's more important to keep the Batterskull healthy. So we'll put that into play and pass, and if the Batterskull can stay in play for a turn or two, we should win. Okay, we have another Blood Moon. No big deal. And we'll be taking the Swiftspear off the board with the Apparition on our turn. We know the one card in hand, so they will not be attacking into our Germ. And we find Path to Exile as an answer to their Obosh. Okay. So how are we going to deal with this deck? Well, we're going to want to bring in Forge-Tenders and Auriok Champions. Leonin Arbiter seems quite poor. They're not going to be searching their deck at all. The Archon also seems okay, actually, if they're only able to play one spell per turn. So we'll leave that in. Flickerwisp is very easy for them to kill. I'm looking to take that out. Thalia is also easy to kill, but the tax is quite relevant. So I think I would rather take out a Flickerwisp. We're going to leave the Givers in. They're quite nice to protect our cards. And we're going to play with this. There is a slight consideration to Rest in Peace and Winds of Abandon, but I think we have enough removal. And I think Rest in Peace only really hits their Lava Darts, so I don't think that's worthwhile. Okay, so not a great hand, but the Forge-Tender is quite nice, and we have Silent Clearing to draw another card. I'm actually leaning towards a keep here, but I think we can maybe do better with 6. Let's try 6 and see if we can do better. Oh, this hand is way worse. We get no lands. Okay, this is fine. We'll have to put 2 back. We'll put back Ghost Quarter Field of Ruin. Definitely liking that first hand more than this one. This one is quite weak to Lava Dart. Okay, we get Giver. We'll start with Aether Vial, and then next turn we can play Thalia Giver. Okay, they have Blast Zone. Interesting choice for their deck. If they want to kill their own creatures to get rid of my Aether Vial, that's fine. Okay, Apparition, very nice. We will play the Thalia. And we'll pass back. Monastery Swiftspear is untapped here. They didn't attack. Okay, here's Lava Dart for the Thalia. Okay, I am not going to throw my Giver away this time. So if they have Light Up the Stage, they will be able to use it. Okay, Stomp me, and that'll deal more damage. And here's Light Up the Stage. Giving them Soulscar Mage and another Light Up the Stage. Okay, we're going to hope to draw either land or 2-drop. Okay, we get Sword of Fire and Ice. So basically we have nothing. Next turn we will be able to use the Skyclave Apparition. So we can get something off the board. A Bone Crusher Giant if they play it. A Soulscar Mage would also be a nice hit. I expect them to be lighting up the stage this turn. Okay, they have Flame Slash to get the Giver of Ruins out of the way. Nothing we can do. If they have another red source, they will be able to light up the stage. But if we're only taking 2 damage, then we're fine with that. Ah, fantastic. The light up the stage is gone. Okay. Let's see what we draw here. Land would be nice. We get the land. Okay, so we can Skyclave into Sword, Ice, and Fire. Probably getting the Soulscar Mage off the field. One thing that we can look at is we can play the Skyclave with our mana and then flick it if they try anything funny. Or we could just get rid of both of their creatures, basically. Personally, I like getting the Sword of Fire and Ice down onto the field here. And then we can put the Skyclave Apparition onto the board at instant speed. So it will take one of these creatures off the board. Okay, here's a Pyromancer. That's quite good from the opponent. That might be something we would prefer to take with the Apparition so they don't get the tokens. But the Sword of Fire and Ice does allow us to swing through the tokens. So we might still go for the Soulscar Mage here. Especially if they don't play a land, we might be able to... we can't snipe anything because they have Lava Dart. So don't even try. Okay, they do have land. Okay, here comes combat. Just wondering if I want to get rid of the Soulscar Mage or the Pyromancer. I'm leaning actually towards the Mage now. So let's just go ahead and get that off the board while it's attacking. And no blocks because they have the Lava Dart. So they would be able to kill my Apparition, and I would like to maybe flicker it. Better yet, put a Sword of Fire and Ice on it. Okay, it would be nice to see one of our sideboard cards here. Hey, it's like we called for it, right? So if we put this onto the board, we cannot use the Sword of Fire and Ice. I'm fine with that. And then we can use the Flickerwisp at instant speed to blink the Apparition if they try and kill it. So let's just put this in play before they use a Blood Moon. They imagine they took the Blood Moon out, but just in case. And we'll pass. No attacks. Do not want to trade my Apparition for their Pyromancer. Okay, another Blast Zone. They might consider ticking Blast Zone up to 2 to get rid of my champion. But we do have Field of Ruin to be able to get rid of one of their Blast Zones. Okay, here's a Shattering Spree. So that's going to... Okay, it looks like they have replicated it as well, so they want to get rid of my Sword of Fire and Ice. We will Flickerwisp the sword in response. We will let them get the Aether Vial so we can keep the sword. Okay, so I think I have to let that happen first. And then this targets sword. Okay. And now we respawn. We say we would like to keep our sword, thank you very much. And they have 0 cards in hand, so they can't say much about it. They will Lava Dart the Flickerwisp, that's fine. Gets one of their lands off the board. Hey, we get to gain a life too. We'll have to remember to say always yes to that. And they get our Aether Vial. Okay, they can put a Bone Crusher Giant into play, but we're going to have a Apparition with a sword. Okay, always yes, always yield. That'll make things a little bit faster on our side. And we don't need to use the Field of Ruin yet. We'll look to hit one of their blast zones once they tick it up to 2. Okay, we'll go ahead and block here. They have 0 cards in hand, and they do not have a Lava Dart in the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and block one of their tokens as well. And we'll only take 3. Okay, here we get our sword back, and we're going to be looking to put that onto the Apparition. So we'll have 2 creatures with protection from red. And we got a second land destruction source, so we can get rid of both blast zones. Excellent. Okay, we'll leave both of those available. We have no cards in hand. We don't need to bluff anything. And we'll leave the champion back. And we will kill their Swift Spear with the trigger. Okay, we find a land. We've already played a land. That's fine, we'll pass. So champion is on giant blocking duty. If they do have another giant, they will be able to kill our champ, because they could stomp us and then damage can't be prevented. So that would mean the giant would be able to do damage to the protection from red creature. That is a possibility, but we are willing to take that risk. We don't want to be smashed in the face for 7 damage every turn. Taking 3 is much more reasonable. Okay, they are striking in for everything. And we are going to block. Hopefully they do not have another giant. Okay, we got lucky. No giant this time. Okay, if we can find a creature, we can gain a life. And we find a creature. That will allow us an extra blocker. Okay. So let's see here. That 15, we have nowhere near lethal here. We're just going to go ahead and attack. And we'll take the Seasoned Pyromancer off the board. And then we have good blocks going forward. Would have rather played the Canyon over the Plains, so it was a mistake to play my land pre-combat. Now they could use a Blast Zone here to get rid of Giver of Ruins, that's fine. Gonna go ahead and put a stop on the end step here so that I can get rid of this Blast Zone. We're going to go ahead and use Field of Ruin, I think. Ah, yes. The ping is only for 2. It's a shock. We cannot kill the giant with the sword, unfortunately. We are looking to be in an okay position here, but there is still quite a bit of risk. Okay, Lightning Bolt on the Giver of Ruins. Nothing we can do about that. It did eat a spell and gain us life, so that Giver of Ruins was basically +4 life. Thank you. They only have 4 lands available. Ah, that's 5, so they will be able to use the Pyromancer to make more creatures. That was one of the reasons why I could have considered hitting the Elemental instead. Okay, we find another Ghost Quarter. Let's go ahead and attack with the Apparition. Holding the champion back. We don't have lethal. This time, however, I am going to hit face with Sophie because we need one more hit to win. Okay, we'll play the Canyon and we'll draw a card. And we find another champ, so we'll play that. We're going to leave up Ghost Quarter, so we might as well just go ahead and play the Aether Vial, why not? And pass. Okay, the opponent did not use their Pyromancer on my end step. Curious as to why. Perhaps they thought there was just no reason to. I am expecting a concession here. And there it is. This hand looks fine. We'll keep. Okay, we'll keep this. This chat can be a little bit lonesome, sometimes handsome. Some days we'll get 10 people in, sometimes we'll get you. Oh, it looks like someone's joined us. Lord Abyss has mulligan to 5. And they're on the play. So that gives us a slight card advantage. And we're playing against Dredge. So we'll start with Aether Vial and pass. Okay, they find Life from the Loam. And they're going to haggle, so they can discard the Stinkweed Imp and get 2 Creeping Chills off it. Okay, they're getting started quick. They do use fetch lands, yes. You can see a Blood Crypt. Oh, sorry, no, that's not a fetch land. They do use some fetch lands, though. Oh, look at that. They got a Necromoeba. And that's going to bring the Prized Amalgam back as well. So they are starting out quite quick. This is their turn 2. They've already dealt me 9 with Creeping Chills and are about to have a 3/3 on the board along with their 1/1 flyer. Okay, we get another land. We're just going to go ahead and play this Arbiter and pass. They do have access to Life from the Loam, so our Ghost Quarter is going to want to go after their Copperline Gorge if we get a chance. But they have Conflagrate. So they can kill the Arbiter if they so choose. We're going to take 4, go to 7. They have 3 cards in hand. Okay, no blocks. Okay, I expect them to use either the Conflagrate or to cast a Life from the Loam and grab their Arid Mesa, Stomping Grounds, and Blood Crypt, setting up for a large Conflagrate on the next turn. Okay, they're doing the Ox instead. And there's another Creeping Chill. Okay. So we're dead. Let's bring in these Rest in Peace. Yeah, that was quite the turn from the opponent. I am considering bringing in the Auriok Champion. It does block all of their creatures quite well. And we wouldn't mind gaining life if they bring some creatures in. The Arbiter seems quite poor. We're going to take that out. The Archon doesn't seem very good either. The opponent isn't really casting spells as much as just putting them into play for free. So the Revoker could name the Shriekhorn. I think it could actually name Ox. How does the wonder how that ability works. Holmes Handsome says escape is an ability, so yeah, it should work. We could also bring in Winds of Abandon, but I don't expect the game to be going that long, and we have the Apparition to take their cards off the table. Think that we're going to go with this. Giver of Ruin seems fine. We could actually bring in the Forge-Tender, and that would actually be very good against their Conflagrate. So we'll replace a couple Givers with the Forge-Tenders. Okay, so we have a 1-land hand here. We have to mulligan. This is another 1-land hand. It does have Aether Vial, though. So we are going to... I don't really like this. It doesn't have Rest in Peace in it. and it only has 1 land. We're going to mulligan again. Okay, we have find 2 lands and Rest in Peace. We're going to keep. And we'll get rid of, I think, Flickerwisp and Stoneforge Mystic. Although Flickerwisp could be nice to protect our Rest in Peace, Stoneforge is going to get our clock going that much faster. Okay, start with Vial and pass. Next turn, Rest in Peace. We don't want to let them get started at all, and Dredge gets started quite quickly. They do have a 7-card hand, and they didn't start with anything, so now I'm starting to fear that they have an answer to our Rest in Peace immediately. So if we put Rest in Peace down, I'm afraid that they're going to kill it and just go off on their second turn. I suppose we have to play through it anyways. The problem is, if we hold, then they're just going to do their thing until... Yo, what's up? I think that we just have to play through it anyways, as if they don't have it, because how could we protect Rest in Peace anyways? Okay, so they didn't have it. Either that or they hit the wrong skip. White and red, Wear Tear. They don't have the mana for both sides. Ah, Cathartic Reunion, that's fine. Could you imagine getting Wear Teared right now? Okay, we get another land. Okay, does this deck play basics? Well, either way, we're going to play the Ghost Quarter and get the City of Brass off the board so that they don't have access to all these manas, but I think it would be better to do it in the draw step. Might have been better to do this one specifically in the upkeep, because now they'll have access to this color of mana, but they choose not to tap it. I ignored the chat for a minute, and now I don't know what's going on. Jedi Mind Tricks? What are you doing? What are we playing? Well, we're playing Death and Taxes versus a Dredge deck, and we got Rest in Peace on the field, and we're just hoping that our opponent can't find an answer for our enchantment. They are digging quite heavily. We get Batterskull. We want to get a clock going. We could also get Maul, which would get a clock going as well. But we're going to go for Batterskull. Okay, we're going to get the Aether Vial up to 3, and we'll leave it there. And we find a second Rest in Peace. Fantastic. I would like to get the Batterskull out, so we'll leave the second Rest in Peace in hand for now. Okay, it looks like they're... right, because they generally have a stop on their draw. Okay, another land. So once again, they have access to all types of mana. And they're playing an Amalgam. The Coincide in Peace. Well, I figure if one is good, two must be better. Get the Batterskull out. Okay, and we'll say always no and always yield. Okay, we find Thalia. So we can only choose one of these cards to put into play. Rest in Peace or Thalia. We will attack with the Germ. I expect them to take it. I would like to play Thalia here, but the Prize Amalgam does a very nice impression of a wall against Thalia. It would prevent them from casting multiple spells per turn. Yeah, let's play the Thalia here. Oh, you think so, huh? I guess. You're probably right. Probably should have played the second Rest in Peace. Just so that they wouldn't be able to kill the Rest in Peace and start going off this turn. But I think Thalia does pretty much the same thing. In the sense that they'll only be able to play maybe 2 spells this turn. Cycling Forgotten Cave. Okay, and they're casting the Ghoul. So they can block and kill my Germ now at the price of both of their creatures. And then I can return the Germ to my hand and use the Stoneforge Mystic to put it back into play. That is a little bit slow, but it is something that we have access to. We find Flickerwisp. Fantastic. So now we have the option to flicker the Batterskull after they kill it, and that will bring the Germ back. And we can play the second Rest in Peace as well, so that's ideal. Let's go ahead and attack. I expect them to double block here. No, they let it through. That's fine for us. We'll play Rest in Peace and hold up Flickerwisp. Okay, opponent taking their time on their draw step here. I imagine being a dredge player, you would normally have a stop on your draw. Ah, they forgot about the Thalia as well. Yes, you must pay more mana. Yeah, I think that they're in a miserable situation here. Okay, here's another Ghoul. And they get Blast Zone, which is at 1. So they can tick that up to 2 and get rid of both Rest in Peace at the same time. But we have Flickerwisp, so we're going to flicker the Stoneforge Mystic and go get Maul, and then we can use the Mystic to put Maul in play. So this should be GG, opponent. Because the Maul will give our Germ flying. Oh, we got Skyclave too. Neat. Okay, so this should be GG. Opponent has no flyers. Okay, they're going to haggle. But they only have 1 mana left, so they can't do anything through the Thalia. Okay, pretty satisfied with the way that turned out. Think we're ready to do it one more time. Let's go ahead and submit. And cross our fingers we find a rest in peace. Okay, we do have a rest in peace. We have lands, we have spells we're going to keep. Start out with Aether Vial. And then probably play Rest in Peace on turn 2. Lord Abyss is mulliganing. They've mulliganed down to 5 cards now. They could be looking for the answer to Rest in Peace. Okay, they're satisfied with their 5. And here's a Shriekhorn. No one was surprised. Let's start with Plains Aether Vial. And set up for Rest in Peace next turn. Now they can do quite a bit on their turn 2, so let's hope that their turn 2 isn't as explosive as last time. But they're already setting up with a Ghoul and an Amalgam already in the graveyard. Okay, fortunately they have not hit any Dredgers yet. Okay, we got lucky. But they could still have plenty of gas. Oh, there's a Blast Zone. So we're going to need land destruction in order to... Okay, there's Life from the Loam. And we are priced into playing the Rest in Peace here. But the Blast Zone means we're going to need to find a Ghost Quarter quite quickly. Okay, we find another path. That's not great. Let's get rid of their graveyard. We're also going to have to be cautious about putting the Thalia into play because their Blast Zone could get rid of it at the same time as the Rest in Peace. We don't want to give them that kind of value. And they're already most of the way towards getting their Blast Zone off. I believe we know that they already have another land in hand, but it is a come into play tapped land. The Forgotten Cave. Okay, we found Ghost Quarter. Lucky us. Whew, that is so lucky. Okay, we want to play the Ghost Quarter immediately. For sure, for sure, for sure. I'm thinking I wouldn't mind playing another Aether Vial because we know the Blast Zone cannot go off yet. And then I can put the Thalia into play at instant speed. We just need to consider when we should be activating the Ghost Quarter, if we should be doing it now or if we should be doing it during their upkeep. If we wait until their upkeep, I don't believe there's any way they can punish us for it. It's better to wait until their draw step, so they could potentially draw a basic. And again, I really don't think there's any way for them to punish us with that. Except that we're giving them access to more mana. So yeah, we'll use the Ghost Quarter on their draw step. because it costs 3 in order for it to work, and the opponent does not play Simian Spirit Guides, so we don't have to worry about this going off. You knew it was coming, opponent. Okay, so they are making colorless mana with it. Let's see what they do with that mana. Gonna cycle Forgotten Cave, that's fine. Still in their draw step. Shriekhorn, so we're going to put the Thalia into play now, so that they cannot cast another spell. Okay, so this is the one for 2. Yes. And yes. We get a 3rd Path to Exile. Not exactly what we were looking for. We can start drawing cards with the canyons, but then we wouldn't have access to the path because of Thalia. Not sure, but maybe I should wait one more turn, get the Aether Vial of 2. We can draw if we need to, otherwise we'll leave the lands on the board. I like having access to 3 lands in this deck. Okay, here's a Ghoul. Does not block Thalia very well. We do have First Strike, so we can let that live. Everything exiles. Okay, we're going to put the big one on first, second one on second. Yes to this one. No to this one. And we find a second Thalia. Okay. Okay, we will attack, and we'll just pass here, I think. All the ways to get into exile. There's 1 path, 2 path, 3 path, or they could block. One option here is if they do dare to attack us, we could put Thalia into play and go ahead and block their Ghoul. I think we're still racing faster than they are, though. So they can put us to 16 if they attack. Ah, they do not attack. Okay. So they just want to hang back and do nothing? That's fine. These Aether Vials are no. And we find a Forge-Tender. I don't mind playing that. Oh, really? All right. It's been quite some time since I've read any Robert Frost, I will admit. Okay, they're going to block, and I think they're going to draw a card. And we're going to go ahead and put the Forge-Tender into play and pass. I appreciate that you did that. I didn't catch it at the time, but that's pretty cool. So the reason we're playing the Forge-Tenders is as an answer to Conflagrate. Conflagrate is a very powerful spell on the Dredge side, and having this one answer to be able to save our entire board or our life seemed like a good reason to bring it in. Okay, so they do have Prized Amalgam on the board now. That's going to meet a path. And so too should the Stinkweed Imp, but it doesn't block Thalia very well, so maybe we'll just leave that in play. Definitely want to path the Amalgam though. Okay, looks like they failed to find on the land front, so that makes our final two paths that much better. Okay, we're going to say always no, and always yield, and always no, always yield. Okay, we find Flickerwisp, fantastic. Let's go ahead and attack with Thalia. Okay, I will read the text. It says, whenever it deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. You are right. Stinkweed Imp isn't technically a death touch creature, but if it's not dealing any combat damage to our first striker, then we should be fine. Okay, we have Flickerwisp up to save a Rest in Peace if they try and kill it. Let's just kill him with Thalia. Okay, another Cathartic Reunion. So looking for an answer to the Rest in Peace. I don't think they're going to find anything fast enough. But Dredge is a very quick deck, so we should be cautious. That's why we have the Flickerwisp with the Aether Vial here, just in case. They try anything, we can save it. Here's a Necromoeba. That's fine. Yeah, we could put the Flickerwisp into play on the end step. Take the... Yep, that's what we're going to do. On the end step, we're going to get the Necromoeba off the board, and then we're going to use Path to Exile to get the Stinkweed off the board, and then we swing in for the win. Okay, there we go.